Hello and welcome back to GameSketch, the show where I try to pay artistic tribute to what in my opinion are some of the best and most artistic games of our times, and pastimes of course. But this week it's time for a game that's very dear to my heart. It feels like I've been playing this one for ages because it's such a big and interesting world. I'm talking about Kingdom Come Deliverance. It's a wonderful historical setting that manages to pack so much history in there. The song that you're hearing is actually also a song that I composed and named in honor of this game. It's called Sneaking into Bandits Camp because I thought that it was such a memorable thing. At some point when the initial section is passed and the more linear section is completed, the world opens up, and I very much enjoyed that moment. The sneaking mechanic is well done with the different components and the weight of the items and the amount of noises they make. But to me also it was particularly interesting. The bandits here are not just your normal game generic bandits. They are real historical of Hungarian origin, I believe. Due to my childhood, I happen to still understand Hungarian, so it was for me particularly interesting to combine all the game mechanics and just get to sneak into the bandits camp and get them here talking and swearing and doing all their stuff and just seeing that as a very real thing. It was just a fascinating moment that stuck with me in time. The moment in the illustration is a moment I believe that is happening at the monastery. The monastery had a very particular impression on me. Initially, I had so much fun in the game, and then as it opened up, exploring it and discovering the big world, that when I got to the section on the monastery, I was a bit confused because it really felt very realistic in a strange way, in the sense that I really felt somehow locked up. Suddenly all that freedom that I had gained was taken away from me, and I was in there, and it was simultaneously depressing in the sense that I couldn't see anymore the outside world. All the activities I had been involved in had been disconnected, but at the same time felt incredibly immersive. There was a rigid time schedule that made me appreciate things even in real life. The hours at which the monks would wake up, the morning service, the prayer time, the translation, all came together in such a wonderful way. I believe it takes place in Bohemia 1404. There's a lot of fascinating historical elements, which I think the game does a great job at relating. I remember at the time when I started playing it, I was listening to a history podcast. I think it was called Hardcore History. It was talking about all sorts of stuff that you rarely hear from the history book, and it was sort of like spicier or weirder or simply history told in a way that's not as sort of like protective of mild ears as other things. It was very interesting to me to see in the game snippets of history that confirmed that and brought more details in that direction. This week's mystery game takes us to some other monks in quite a different time and space. I don't want to drop too many hints, but it's a longer series. I invite you to guess it. I am not even sure anymore. I did it so many years ago with different techniques back then, but I think it was game 3 of this series or 4. Anyway, it was also a very interesting historical series. I wonder if you can guess what series it is, maybe even the game. And we're back, continuing the finishing touches on the illustration. I think I went a bit more in the direction of sort of like higher dramatic contrast and purples and splats of colors and particles in the air. I think that adds, but I do understand it when my wife said that she liked an initial earlier stage when the things were a bit like warmer colors and more naturalistic in colors. Still, I thought it adds a bit of that supernatural, super dramatic element. The stories and the narratives inside the game were particularly interesting. They all had a very strong grounding and believability. I think that contributed a lot to bringing history to life in a beautiful way. I found very interesting the snippets of history that you can read, and they're like sort of like dripped to you as you go through the game and you do different things or see different places, and suddenly you get to read something about a particular kind of place that used to be historically relevant or present at that time. Another thing that the game did really spectacularly was the alchemy and potion system. This is something that I enjoy in many games. I enjoyed in Oblivion to gather all the flowers and ingredients, and there's something very nice about that, having of a peaceful gameplay type inside the game, which is actually more active and with other stuff. But in this game it felt particularly grounded. It really felt like I had to sort of like memorize the different plants, and not just what you mix but the steps, and they have managed to make an alchemy system that I thought was very immersive. Having to remember how long you boil something, grinding things and making sure they're done in the right order, and pouring the ingredients into the pot as the water is boiling. I thought that was a very well achieved element of the game. All in all, I found it truly fascinating to immerse myself into the world of Kingdom Come Deliverance. Also, it did something that I can't think of any other game that has done it before, which is a world in which sometimes events run independent of you. This brought a huge level of realism, like a situation where somebody tells you there's a battle at noon tomorrow, and you oversleep or go somewhere else, and guess what? The battle doesn't wait for you, and it happens anyway. And now, it's time to jump into the painting with your imagination. I invite you to travel with me, to place yourself there, to mentally sit in the corner of the cold cave wall that, to me, at least through the warmth of the painting, doesn't feel quite as cold. But still, we're in the corner, observing this moment, observing the character entering. Maybe we try to imagine the name of the priest behind him. Whether you played the game or not, that doesn't matter. I am also forgetting the details, which is why I think it's very interesting to speculate, to picture for him a motivation. Why is he sitting there? Is he the friend of the character walking in? Or on the contrary, like his oppressor? What is life like in this cell? Is this a cell, or is this a place for prayer? How do you picture this whole scene? What do you imagine there? Thank you for watching all through. I hope that you have enjoyed this illustration, that you have traveled into the painting. I hope that you have enjoyed or will enjoy one day this wonderful game world.